started with the questions. Okay, we are live. Okay, so this is what we're calling our Power Hour. I'll go around and let everybody introduce themselves, but tonight we're going to basically just be taking some open questions about health and fitness, nutrition, that sort of thing. And so, if you're on the call or if you're in the Hangout and want to send a question through the chat, or if you want to post it in the group, we will try and answer it in the hour that we have here. So my name's Chris Coburn, for those of you who don't know me. I've been a Beachbody coach for almost 4.5 years now, and I've known these other guys, not Jonathan quite as long, but the other three I've known just as long as pretty much they've been coaches. So we've all been working together, trying to help you guys reach some goals that you have, and so we're here for you guys tonight, and let's make the most of this hour. How about send it over to Brendan?
Okay, so yeah, again, my name is Brendan McCauley. I've worked with many of you. Others are either working with Chris or Jared or Jonathan. This is my girlfriend, Jess. Jess has been coaching with me. We've been doing these challenge groups for the past 3.5, 4 months, and this is actually the first video that we're being able to present with you guys on more of a live basis. I know in the past I've personally been on a lot of calls, and it's been super helpful, at least from like a question and answer feedback sort of deal. And especially for whatever reason, if you weren't able to make tonight, to be able to watch this on the back end, I think can be super helpful. And a lot of times, many people in a group will have the same question, and even if you don't get a chance to ask it yourself, chances are you might hear it a little later on. So just pay attention. Be mindful. If you are on the chat and you do have questions, please feel free to ask us. We're happy to answer them. That's what we want to do, is be here for you guys and really bring as much valuable information as possible. And the way we can do that is just finding out what you want and just going after that as best as we can. And it seems like a lot of it will kind of rotate around questions about nutrition, a few things about motivation, and some other stuff we're going to touch on. So with that, we'll throw it over to Jared, and then Jared, if you want to pass it on to Jonathan.
Wow. Jared here. I don't know if there's any more I can add to that, what Chris and Brennan said. You kind of stole the thunder there, man.
Sorry, buddy.
No, it's all good. All I can say is that this is an awesome group of people to be a part of, and it has been a blessing for me to know everybody as long as I have. And there's a lot of value that we try to add to people through the free groups, through all the groups that we run. And this is one more thing that we're just trying to throw at you, to provide for you guys, so that everyone is on their own journey, everyone has their own questions, and that's exactly what we're here for. We wanted to show you firsthand what we look like, what we sound like, but second of all, just to show you that we support you 100% of the way. All right. And that being said, Jonathan, take the ball.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Cox. I was really fat. Now I am not fat. No, seriously, I lost 50 pounds about 3 years ago, and a lot of the work that I do is sedentary. And at one point, I was really active physically, and I remember being 27 years old, and I just totally had kind of let myself go. I attended the funeral of a loved one, my uncle, who was kind of like my surrogate father, and he died of heart failure at 59. And I remember seeing my aunt at his graveside and thinking, man, this could be my wife, and I don't want to go down this path. So I had a client and a friend who was doing P90X and drinking Shakeology. He got me into this. I started at my heaviest. I was around 225, 230. And I'm only 5'9", so that's pretty heavy for that height. And now I am 175, so I've come a long way since then. And basically about 6 months into it, family and friends just started saying, "Man, what are you doing?" Because I wasn't losing weight in a way that was unhealthy. I was losing weight in a way that, you could see that I was gaining muscle, I had more energy and vitality, I was sleeping better, so, the dark circles under the eyes were starting to go away, that kind of stuff. So I am basically here because I've seen the effect of all of this on the lifestyle and the relationships that I have with my family and my friends. And a lot of my family is scattered across the United States. So for us, it's a way of keeping memories and things in common with each other that we can talk about at a distance, doing the same programs, doing the same nutrition stuff. It gives us things that we can continue to talk about as we get older and as we do our separate things. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome. And then Chris, I don't know if you want to start off with asking anyone on the call if they have questions. Did you want to go from that just so we can make sure we address those first?
Yeah, I guess a couple, just make sure housekeeping things. So if you have questions and you're new to the Hangouts, either post them in the group that you're a part of if you aren't sure how to do it here through the Hangout, or if you need to message directly the person that invited you, that's cool too. We did solicit some questions before we started this, and so we have a few that we want to get through. But before we do that, if anyone on the call actually has a question that they want to make sure that we get covered, I'd like to start with those first. So that means Melinda.
It looks like she's muted.
She might be muted.
Pantomime for us, Melinda.
She wasn't muted earlier.
It's 4 syllables. Sounds like
she may have forgotten how to unmute herself or realize it.
Melinda, if you're able to unmute yourself. All right, little technical difficulties. So let's do this. Let's wait. She might be able to unmute herself. Do you want to maybe open up with the first question that we had from, I think it was Crystal Davis?
Yeah, I didn't take down the names here, but so I'm not sure if this is the same one. But so let me just read it, and then we'll go from there. And I guess the way we want to probably answer these is I'll ask the question, and if anybody has like an overwhelming, they just have to answer it, feel free. But then we'll all just kind of maybe give 10 or 15 seconds or 30 seconds of our take on it, I guess. That sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this person says, I'm a very small person and yet very out of shape, so meal prep, I need affordable options, easy, fast cooking. So I'm sure we've all been in that situation where we need affordable, easy, fast cooking. I mean, I'm a parent of 4. And so we're always on the go, that sort of thing. And so affordable and easy and fast is always something. So the way that we try and tackle this is we really just plan ahead as much as possible. And so we'll do a grocery list or something like that on a Sunday to make sure we kind of plan out at least our dinners. The kids are in school, so they're pretty much taken care of, the lunchtime periods. But planning ahead is usually how we make sure that we, one, eat well, and also don't, just have to rely on going out to dinner after or every night. So.
I guess if I can add to that one, so if you feel like your schedule is crazy, so especially I just got out of school, but it was normally we'd work out in the morning, I have a 9 to 5, and then I'm in school till 10 o'clock, going for an MBA. And for 2 years straight, trying to figure out how I was going to manage a meal plan that was going to work for my lifestyle, trying to eat 5 or 6 times a day, not wanting to cook only on the weekends and then have to still study and do all the rest of that. There's plenty of meal plan services, and I actually wrote a post on this that are popping up, and they're becoming extremely popular. And when you price it out, each meal is roughly $9 a meal. And you look at any restaurant you go to, on average, say you wanted a salmon dinner, like almost $20, $25 plus the time you tip. Almost every single meal winds up being $9, perfectly portioned out. It's got all your calories, it's got your protein, your carbs, your fat. You can get as many or as little as you want. They're super convenient. You pay usually either bi-weekly, even on a weekly basis, or I do it up front of the entire month. And Monday through Sunday is basically covered for a lunch and a dinner. So if you're a person who just really feels like they don't have the time, and you feel like the $9, and it's pretty much winds up being equal to what you pay as if you're to go out to the supermarket, have to buy all that food, and cook it for yourself. So between the time and the convenience, that's what's worked for myself and Jess, and we've been doing that. So that is an option for you to look into. So just type in meal prep services near me, and a bunch of options probably will come up.
Nice.
For me here, I'll go in for this one. And this is, I'm not normal for a lot of people. Yeah, the guys can, I heard snickers. I eat the exact same thing pretty much 6 days a week for most of my meals. Like, except for supper varies, but it still stays within 2 veggies, two carbs, two proteins. But from 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to just before supper, everything is the exact same thing 6 days a week. And that, for me, I got a lot of, because I'm also a business owner, I got a lot of decisions to make during the day, and food is just one more decision, and it adds up at the end of the day. So if I can keep that consistently, so it's automatic every night, I'm trying the exact same thing day in, day out. And I mean, I can change it up a little bit, you know. I can have 2 eggs instead of 3/4 of a cup of cottage cheese, for example, and I can make little shifts in the veggie I have with hummus. But for the most part, I'm having the same thing consistently day in, day out, and that just helps me big time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll comment next. I have a lot of respect for being able to do the same thing consistently day in and day out, and I can do that for a few weeks, but then I start to kind of go crazy because I really enjoy cooking, and I come from a family that really enjoys cooking and food and all that kind of stuff, and so the benefit of that is that I know a lot of different things that I can.
We lost him.
Ways that I keep things interesting. You'll switch up proteins from time to time. Jess, can you hold up the Tupperware? Okay, so my lovely assistant here is showing off a really super cheap piece of Tupperware that you can get on Amazon.com, and it's great for meal prep. You can make, order 10 of these things if you're a couple, or if you're a family and you're doing meal prep for a bunch of people, you can order 40 of them for like $40. They're super cheap. But they have 3 compartments in it. You can put your protein in one compartment. You can put your veggies in another compartment. 2 different veggies, like they're saying, or veggies and carbs. So like an example there, the big portion at the very bottom of what she's holding up, we'll put grilled chicken in there. We'll put turkey, that kind of stuff, mixing it up. We'll occasionally make the Siggi's turkey meatballs and put them in there. And then the smaller compartments at the top, we'll grill vegetables a lot of the time. So like we'll do grilled asparagus, we'll do grilled sweet potatoes, we'll grill some peppers, red peppers, green peppers, yellow bell peppers, etc. Just basically mixing it up for me is what keeps me sane. So if you go to the produce section and just stock up on some leafy greens and try and eat the rainbow. That's something that an expression that I really like. So try and buy vegetables that are a lot of different colors, because those different colors, usually they're an indicator that there's different vitamin content in those things. And it's good to have diversity in your diet. So yeah, that's what I would say. And then also if you're flavoring things, to keep things from getting too bland, marinate your proteins overnight if you can. And one of the easiest things that you can do to add flavor to something when you're cooking is just to add some Himalayan sea salt to it. I say Himalayan not because I'm just trying to be a foodie, fancy nerd, all that kind of stuff, but the iodized salt that you buy in stores has all of the base minerals stripped out of them. So you're getting all the salt, but none of the trace minerals that you need in your diet. So getting the sea salts that are unrefined, or getting the Himalayan salts and adding those to your foods not only adds flavor, but it also gives you some trace minerals in your diet. Good stuff.
Probably just one side comment now that I'm kind of listening to how all of us are talking about it. One thing, if you're listening to this call, one thing you're going to notice is that most of us, because we've sort of already gotten into the healthy routine of making our foods and preparing our meals and doing all this ahead of time and making that conscious decision that, okay, if we want to have the bodies we desire and live a long, healthy life, that it takes this prep and this meal time, and just the concept of meal preparation in itself. I think a lot of what many of us struggle with, or used to struggle with, or do struggle with, is well, I'm just gonna go get some fast food because it's super cheap, inexpensive, whatever you want to call it. It's quick. It's like a last-second decision. What that might take is more than just the meal prep itself, is deciding that you're going to change whatever that normal Monday through Sunday routine is. And if every Tuesday night the kids love to go grab chicken tenders and a thing of fries and pizza rolls and a slushy or shake or whatever the deal is. It's getting out of that mentality of, okay, this is what I do every Tuesday, to every Tuesday we now as a family sit down and prepare the meals for the next couple of days. So you're not taking away from what you normally do, you're just shifting that and changing that mindset to approach it in a bit more of a healthier manner, as opposed to just being in that vortex of, all right, well, you know what, I don't have the money to be able to pay for the healthy stuff. That's not the case. You can buy things in bulk when you go to Costco, BJ's, any one of the other big supermarkets like that, and you can easily get a thing of 24 or 32 pieces of chicken for maybe half, if not less, than some of the other upper expensive ones. So, it may not be the grade A, high-quality farm that you get at Publix, but it's still possible. So don't use the money thing as an excuse. There is a way to kind of work around that. But that was just an extra thought I was having as we were talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's cheaper for me to make my own stuff and to eat at home and to do meal prep than it is to go out. A couple of examples of snacks that I eat that are super easy for me, and I'm a business owner too, so decision making, I totally hear that. I'll do a Granny Smith apple and a light string cheese. That's a snack for me that I do in the afternoon. It's super fast and super easy. Quest bars. Does anybody else here do Quest bars or know what Quest bars are?
Those are great, dude.
Yeah, so they're like crack. Obviously,
pumpkin pie for October were amazing.
Yeah, so when I go into my local GNC, which is a nutrition store, if you don't know what it is, I actually say to the guys in there, hey, I'm here for my crack supply. But they're great stuff. I like the chocolate chip cookie dough ones, and you can actually heat those up in the oven or the microwave and shape them so that they're like a cookie, and then bake them if you actually want the experience of eating a cookie. You can eat a protein bar, and it's a cookie, and it's delicious. So those average to about $2.25 per bar. Still cheaper than going and getting fast food, and it's much healthier for you.
So I guess on the topic of food, two other questions. Not to cut yours off, Chris, but I just figured while we're talking about it. So it looks like Sonia asked, as far as nutrition, how often should one eat throughout the day to speed up their metabolism, and are smoothies a good option as a meal replacement? So kind of a two-part question, but I didn't know what you guys thought about them. Oh, Chris, you're on mute, dude.
There we go. So as far as how often to eat, I mean, there's a lot of debate. I mean, I am not a nutritionist by any stretch of the means, but there's a lot of people or a lot of things that you'll find on the internet or whatever that'll say you need to eat 5 or 6 meals a day, and for some people that's just not possible, and so don't feel like that if you can't get 6 meals in a day or 5 meals in a day that. And when I say meals, I don't mean like sit down big plates of meals. It's really 3 main meals and like 2 snacks in between them. But if that's not something that you can do, because even sometimes for me, meetings come up during the day, or life happens and you just can't do that every day. It's totally fine to just stick with 3 meals per day. You may eat a little bit more during those periods of time or during those meals, but there's no like hard and fast rule that says you have to eat 5 to 6 to 7 meals a day. I mean, because, like I said, what we want to make sure that you're trying to do, or what you're focusing on, is finding something that's sustainable for you. Because everyone's different, and so I have the luxury of being able to eat 5 times a day, and you may not, or 6, or whatever. So I don't want anyone to feel like, well, if I can't do it, then I'm just not going to do it, because it needs to be sustainable for you, and not over the course of just 5 to, let's say, 12 weeks. It needs to be 5 to 12 years that you need to be able to sustain it. And so, whatever that looks like for you is how you should structure your eating habits. Ideally, I like to tell people that whatever your wherever that window of your workout is, that's when you want to try and eat the most of your caloric intake for the day. So whether that's before or after, it doesn't really matter to me. It's just around that workout period is when you want to try and consume the most or the largest portion of your calories for the day. The rest of the day, again, it's all kind of however it fits into your schedule. The benefit of doing, smaller meals is that you're not overly overeating at those larger meals, and so then you just have the insulin spike isn't as great when you're, just eating a smaller portion, as opposed to, if you sit down to a big plate of pasta or whatever and you just gorge on it, then you're going to have a really high insulin spike, and then you're going to be full, or you're going to be hungry again a lot sooner than if you were to eat smaller meals. But again, that's not a requirement by any means.
Oh dang! I love huge plates of pasta.
Go for it.
I think I'll add on to you, Chris. There, I got a little bit of an echo here. My wife is a perfect example of that. Where she after having 3 kids. Are you guys hearing an echo there?
Oh, you're good.
You just sound like a baseball announcer. It's all good.
I have the perfect space for radio. After having 3 kids, her hormones and everything have the 5 or 6 smaller meals, and just can't do it. Too bad cravings, too bad insulin. So she does find she's just that for her body type, her metabolism, it's better to have 3 meals that satisfy her, and then a couple snacks in between if needed. Otherwise, her system can't handle it. And that's just an example of everybody is different. You just need to know how your body reacts to the foods that you eat, and the volume and the timing and everything.
And then, Jonathan, did you want to mention? Looked like you were kind of hot when somebody talked about smoothies. What was your thought on that?
Smoothies are delicious. However, they are also sugar bombs. And in many cases, there is a lot of added sugar to them in addition to the sugar that's in the fruit or whatever substances make up the smoothie. So in general, I would say avoid them. There are some cases where it's okay to do them, like, for example, in Body Beast, one of the things they say to do when you're lifting really, really heavy and you're already kind of at the base weight that you're comfortable with and you want to gain mass, they have things called Beast Shakes, and it's basically where you'll do like a fruit, a banana, or something like that, and you'll do some simple sugars in there, which you can buy from Beachbody and so on. It's like maltodextrin and dextrose, which are 2 sugars that convert to glucose, which is what you need in your bloodstream. It's basically blood sugar. And then that sugar gets assimilated into your muscles, into something called glycogen, which is what happens when glucose gets stacked up in your muscles. So there are some cases where it's okay to do smoothies, but most of the stuff that you would buy at like a smoothie shop or that you would get in a supermarket or whatever, they're just full of trash and sugar that you really don't need in your body.
And just to specify, when you guys are looking at the back of these really quick, simple shakes, get an idea for, overall calories, which is fine, but look at the carbs and look at the sugars. And I can almost promise you on any drink that's going to be super quick, or any drink in particular, sugar and carbs will crash the hell out of your diet, plain and simple. And especially for a quick smoothie like that. Now, like what Jonathan was saying, if you're going to do like some Greek yogurt with a banana, maybe like a little bit of orange, and some almond milk or some orange juice or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not, just don't crazy overdo it. But when you go to a Jamba Juice and they start sticking a whole bunch of flavors in there and everything, look at the actual breakdown of what that turns out to. And it's one thing if you're putting maybe a couple fruits that are on your kitchen counter and you want to take it and run. But if you get it at a store in a box, sky high with carbs and sugar, and you just really got to be super careful about that.
Oh, and one little other fun thing. If you can get a hold of some unfiltered honey that has not been cooked, that has real pollens in it, pollen actually has good protein in it. It has a lot of trace minerals in it. It adds a little bit of the honey adds a little bit of sweetness. And if you add a little bit of cinnamon to whatever you're adding the honey to, one of the interesting benefits of cinnamon as a spice is it actually helps your body to assimilate sugar more quickly, more naturally. So when we make our Shakeology in the morning, we do chocolate Shakeology with half a banana for however many people, like per person, about 5 ounces of almond milk, some water, some crushed ice, and cinnamon. And man, the energy that we get off of that is great. It's how we start our morning every morning. It lasts us 2 or 3 hours before we're hungry again, and we work out 6 days a week, so our metabolisms are burning pretty hot. That's my kind of smoothie, and it tastes like a chocolate shake, so it's awesome for us.
Oh, hey, it looks like we just had Gary join us. Gary, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. We're just kind of running through some questions, so if you have one for us specifically, we're just going to top off this, and then you're welcome to join.
Guys, Gary's actually a friend of mine just from down the road. He's a coach with me, and you know, Gary, if I knew you were so tight with money, I'd give you a few bucks to buy a decent sweater.
That's funny.
Yeah, and he's gone.
Yeah, disconnect.
Yeah, I guess tackling on top of what Jonathan was saying, so as far as like our Shakeology in the morning, we do the same kind of thing. Jess is more of a vanilla girl. I'm kind of a chocolate. So we usually do the Shakeology itself. We have a protein powder with vanilla for hers, a chocolate for mine. Usually it'd be like about a cup of almond milk, a cup of egg whites. We'll do usually a scoop of peanut butter in both, and then a scoop of whatever kind of coffee we prefer. And it's a great pick-me-up in the morning. I have a huge super sweet tooth, so that kind of like curves it. It prevents me from eating all the chocolate throughout the day. And then for hers, you know, it gets her up and running. That's her usually mid-breakfast, early lunch kind of deal. That's sort of how we do ours. Jonathan, Jared, how do you normally do yours, man?
Ask me that because everyone's going to hate me. I consume about 4,000 calories a day. So, like, yeah. I don't know if I want to answer that question.
Okay. All right, we'll go to Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, my is pretty simple. So I just actually got the new cafe latte, which is the bomb. So usually I'll do chocolate, but that has actually been my favorite most recently. And I'll just mix it with some whey protein, some almond milk, some ice. Just, you know, I keep it pretty simple. But I eat a lot before I work out. I know a lot of people are like scared to eat before they work out because they're afraid they're gonna throw up or something. And I used to be that same way. But yeah, I'll eat a pretty large meal about 40 or so minutes, 45 minutes before I work out. And so usually my post-workout meal is some form of simple carbs right afterwards. So some sort of energy drink like the E&E, or not the E&E, I'm sorry, Results in Recovery, or just some, like, I'll have a piece of toast. Occasionally I'll throw in a Pop-Tart, and then I'll have my shake after that, after I get kind of cooled down or whatever. But pretty simple in that sense.
Nice.
Pop-Tarts too.
Yeah, man, Jess loves her Pop-Tarts.
I earned them Pop-Tarts on leg day.
You gotta be careful. You gotta only eat one, because that's what the nutrition values say. It's just one pastry, not two.
And that's it. It's a tough challenge, but yeah, only one.
So when Jess and I are Netflixing it up at night after a long, hard day of work, one of the treats that we'll do for ourselves is dark chocolate chips. And we'll do a very small little amount that would fit in the palm of your hand, and I'm not talking the palm of your hand like this. Although that would be awesome. But no, I mean, we're chocolate fiends. We love dark chocolate, so that gives us the flavor of dark chocolate in our mouths without eating like a whole candy bar or something like that.
Yeah.
And a little bit of satisfaction.
Yeah, those dark chocolate Ghirardelli chips are better than candy bars anyway in terms of flavor. And
I couldn't agree more, Jonathan. I've actually had like regular Hershey's candy, you know, just the bar, the chocolate bar, after I've had that Ghirardelli stuff for probably a year now. And I'm like, I can't even eat that stuff.
If you really got that chocolate fix, the other one that we like to do is chocolate rice cakes, and even with a little bit of peanut butter on them. They're usually like super low in calories. They taste awesome. They got like little tiny bits of chocolate chip in them.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a nice little snack if you really want that sweet tooth thing.
You guys are making me hungry.
We're actually gonna make some. We'll
I'm
be
gonna
right
make
back.
some right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the things that you talked about earlier was peanut butter. So if you guys aren't hip to this, PB2 or PB Fit is a peanut butter that has basically been pressed so that 85% of the fat has been extracted from it. So you get the nutritional content of peanut butter minus a lot of the fat. So it ends up being much higher proportionally protein than it would otherwise be. Normally peanut butter is way more fat than anything else, and it's delicious fat, and it's, as far as fats go, pretty healthy fat. But if you're just making oatmeal or something like that, or you're making yourself a shake, and you don't have the fats for the day, you can still get that peanut butter flavor by adding PB2 or PB Fit. And you can buy it at Sam's and your local grocery store and Costco and all that good stuff. So
Just a word of warning on that, because we actually literally just compared that a couple weeks ago. So you'll get about half the amount for twice the price. So you get what you pay for. So that does lend to the fact that sometimes healthier things are more expensive. But when you really look at it and you break it down nutritionally, I want to say for 2 tablespoons of even Smart Balance, which is one of the best choices that you can get of natural peanut butter, I want to say it's like 120 or like 140 calories. And I want to say the PB2 was, or actually it might be like 200 calories. I think PB2 was like 40 or 50, and then all your fat was basically wiped out of it. And just a quick note as far as fats go. So poly and mono fats, I think it's monosaturated or monounsaturated, those are your healthy fats. You'll find them in fish oils, some in peanut butter. The ones that you want to try and stay away from, saturated fats and trans fats, those are the ones that your body really has a hard time breaking down. And those are the fats that will literally just sit on you. So when they say make sure you get your healthy fats, poly and mono are the ones that you guys really want to focus on. So when you're doing the PB2, a lot of the saturated fats that normally come in regular peanut butter are actually wiped out. So just note to self.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the PB2 and all that stuff, it's really just peanut flour. I mean, you could also get peanut flour if you have that available.
yeah.
Can you not get peanut flour from Bulk Barn? Is it the same stuff?
Yeah, same stuff.
Jeez, it's a pile cheaper too.
Yeah.
Something I can say about my shake without making everybody hate me is that I have a hard time getting all my veggies in every day. I am not a fan of veggies. So what I do is I make my shake with a ton of frozen veggies. So I'll get a cup of frozen broccoli, throw it in, and when I had it with like a vegan chocolate Shakeology, chocolate whey, my peanut butter, and then I also will throw in like when you go to the grocery store, you know when you get frozen spinach or lasagna and it's in those cubes, I'll buy like 10 packs of those and cut them up in the cubes, because by the time they get home, we're an hour away from the grocery store. They're cutting up in cubes, and then dry freeze them, and then throw them in a bag, and just throw 3 or 4 cubes in, and I've got like 3 servings of veggies in the shake.
Nice.
Yeah.
The kale and the spinach I can see because those are pretty inert flavors, but you're a brave man for putting broccoli in your chocolate. that sounds pretty gross.
I have done, I'll completely off topic, I have done some really stupid things experimenting with this. I threw in a tomato once, frozen tomato, that was dumb.
Oh.
I've tried with lettuce. And celery is just awful. I accidentally, and don't ask me why it was an accident, threw in an onion, thinking that it'd be great, and that was just horrible. Yeah, it was just horrible. It really was.
Well,
I regret everything. I still drank it.
Baby
My
spinach.
Italian grandmama is turning in her grave, man. Turning in her grave.
Yeah, I
know. All the crazy calories and everything. So there was a girl, Melissa Adams. She said, eating enough calories. I don't get enough. Not a big eater. How many calories should you take in when working out 6 times a week? So
there's a ton of ways that you can figure this out. I think the MyFitnessPal even app has a calculator, but I've got a calculator that I share with people. It's not something I produced, of course, but there's a bunch of different formulas for one, determining what your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate, and that's basically the calories that you need in order to basically just sit in bed and stay alive. And so, so you have to get that number of calories. I don't care how much you're working out or how little you're working out. You have to get that number of calories. And like I said, a formula that goes along with that. And then when you factor in your activity level, so for example, Jonathan and I, and not Jared, but Jonathan and I are pretty sedentary workers, and so we sit at a desk most of the day, or we get very little extra activity. Whereas Jared, I know he's on the go pretty much all day. I don't know actually how much work he does, but he's more active than I think we are. So that factors in a little bit too in terms of how much you need to take in. And the other thing you have to consider is, so if you're overweight, you have to be at a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. So that's really, really simple energy balance stuff, right? So calories in versus calories out. If you're not burning more calories than you're taking in, you will not lose weight. I don't care what you're doing. What you're eating will not matter. And so, like I said, there's formulas I won't go through because it's not productive to do so. But if that's something that we can probably put in the comments or and share how you calculate your basal metabolic rate, and then factor in your activity level, and then again based on a healthy 1 to 4 pounds of weight loss over the course of a week. You want to be at a caloric deficit over that time, and so that's all the recommendations I generally give people, because it's always different for everybody, but those are the guidelines.
Yeah, and I think you're going to find out over time really what works for your body. So, what works for our coach Wayne, where, he can go and run at 1,000 calorie deficit or 1,000 calorie surplus and, just get completely ripped, or, bulk up just like crazy, might not work for me, might not work for you, might not work the same for a woman as it would a man. If your age, that's going to depend on it. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. And again, I think just like most of all this that we talk about, you got to kind of find out and extract little bits from each of us as far as what's going to work best for you. General rule of thumb, and not to get too crazy into numbers, but figure on average, if you are working out 6 days a week, 3,600 calories per pound. So ideally, the standard I've sort of heard is a safe way to go is about a pound of weight loss per week, or usually gain a pound per week. So figure most of the programs wind up being 12 weeks. So ideally, assume you want to lose 12 to 15 pounds over the course of 3 months, which is totally doable. If it's 3,600 and you want to lose that over the course of a week, aim for a 600 calorie surplus on a daily basis. So ideally, if say you're doing Insanity, and there's, like you said, there's plenty of calorie calculators. I have one on my website. You can really just put in your weight, what your surplus or deficit is that you're trying to aim for, and it will calculate all that for you, and we can make those available. But just to kind of give you the overall concept, if you want to lose a pound a week and you're supposed to be eating 2,600 calories, instead you eat 2,000, and ideally over the course of a week you would drop a pound. So that's just sort of the basic principle of it. Jess and I are sort of doing this on a different standard, the fact that we're trying to actually gain weight. We're both doing the Body Beast program. So what are you eating, 20?
Almost 28.
She's almost eating 2,800 calories, and I'm roughly at about 3,500. So when I was trying to lean out, I was probably about 1,900. So, there's a pretty big difference, and I can see the results almost immediately, or at least within a couple weeks, just based on the change in my eating. And, same thing for Jess. So it will vary, but, we can certainly try and make those tools available to you, and then as you go through them, feel free to tweak them and modify them. It's not an exact science. Jonathan, Jared, either of you guys have any intake on that?
I think you covered it, man. Good explanation.
If somebody's not familiar with that, and I know there's a lot of numbers that were thrown out there really, really fast, so if we are going to post this video afterwards in the group, so you can look at it and hear it a couple of times, or if you have any questions, again, we're here to answer any questions. If you just want to post a comment in the Facebook group for more detailed, or just a one-on-one Facebook message.
Okay, and then was I don't know if Gary's available. Looks like he's. Hey Gary, did you want to hop on, or do you have any questions in particular, or just anything you wanted to comment on?
No, I'm good for now. Just kind of listening, kind of
Checking it out.
Yeah, just everything you said is pretty, self-explanatory, and you explained it well. So, no questions otherwise on further points on that.
I actually have a question from somebody in my group. So Cindy Runyon asked me, what is your and Jess's body fat percentage? And she asked because she said, sometimes I lose sight of normal. Whenever I measure mine, I come out to 22%, and she's very petite, by the way. Barely on the lean side. James, her husband, who is like a machine in his dedication to workout and nutrition, shows up at around 16%, also barely lean. And I mean, James is a really fit guy. So she says, I feel bigger than I should be, and James feels smaller than he thinks that he should be on the fat side of things. So one of the things that I've discovered is that stress hormone causes you to retain water. And also, if you're exercising constantly and you never take a break, the cortisol levels in your bloodstream builds up. And cortisol, I swear, I think more people quit working out because of cortisol than anything else that I've seen. If you don't know what it is, cortisol is basically a hormone that your body produces that causes you to retain water whenever you're under stress. So, in general, if you haven't worked out in a really long time, after about 3 to 4 weeks of continuous exercise, your body is flooded with cortisol. And that results in a layer of water over your muscles that causes you to weigh heavier. If you're using calipers to measure your body fat, it'll throw those measurements off. And in general, you'll just look poofier because you have so much water weight over your muscles. So if you're taking kind of a rest week, like in P90X, they have a week where you do more yoga, some lower impact stuff. It helps to flush the body a little bit of that cortisol, and it looks like, if you're sticking with it, wow, all of a sudden I lost all this weight. Well, it's not that you lost a bunch of fat suddenly. You've made that progress over time. It's the body shedding some of that water weight that causes you to look like you suddenly, after 4 to 6 weeks of effort, you're dropping weight like crazy. Also, you can go to the other extreme. If you're working out constantly and you're never giving your body a chance to recover, you're basically going to be mainlining cortisol nonstop, and your body never has time to flush it, to reset, to regenerate. So my brother-in-law, James, that's a piece of advice that I would pass on to him. He needs to take a little bit more time to rest and recover and do things like yoga from time to time. And he does things to an extreme. Here's an example of what I mean. He will do a Beachbody exercise routine during the day. During his lunch hour, he will jog for 30 minutes with dumbbells and be doing this while he's running. He's putting his body under a lot of stress, and the result of that can be that you retain a lot of water weight, and it throws off your body fat percentage measurements if you're using calipers. As to what Jess and I typically measure at, again, remember the calipers can be kind of skewed in how they measure your body fat, but I generally measure right around here because I store more fat on my back genetically than I do on my front, on my stomach, and everybody's different. So I would say if you're measuring body fat, find the part of your waist or wherever you're taking the measurements that you tend to store more fat naturally. Use that as your base measurement and measure there every time. Right now, because of my crazy schedule and all that stuff, I'm probably between like 10 to 12% body fat. If I were really, really focused in on my nutrition and I was taking the time to rest, I would probably be 8 to 10 in general. And I can't speak for Jess, but that's what my measurements are. And I would just say, do not be discouraged if you're 3 to 4 weeks into your exercise and it seems like you have the energy, maybe you feel better, you're seeing muscle definition, but maybe your weight's going up instead of going down. That's not necessarily because you're gaining fat. It may just be because you're retaining water because your body needs to cushion those muscles as they recover. And it's just a cortisol thing that'll pass. So keep pushing through it.
If I can just add on to that real quick. So one thing I know I'm guilty of, not taking breaks, not taking rests, not doing like the yoga and the stretch days like they recommend. So my mentality was, I gotta keep hitting it hard, and like the next day I gotta go, and like I don't want to take off on a Sunday because I'm afraid like I'm not gonna get the results, and like I just need to go, and like you're doing it so hard, and then you wind up not seeing the results, so you get more frustrated, so you just keep doing it. It kind of perpetuates. One thing to keep in mind, and any good trainer or any one of the Beachbody trainers will tell you, the rest days are there so that your body can recover because your body's not actually building the muscle and doing what you want it to do and to look the way you want it to look on those days when you're actually pounding it hard. Your results are actually coming in the time when you're resting, when you're stretching, when you're taking a break, when you're doing all the things outside of the workouts, when you're feeding your body right, when you're giving it water, all that. So when you get those rest days, when you get those stretch days, take full advantage of them and take them just as serious as you do the regular workouts, because they will do just as much, if not more, for your body to get you where you want to be, as if you were to just keep hitting every single workout super hard, nonstop, and just overdoing it, kind of like Jonathan was saying. So just keep that in the back of your mind while you're going through your program.
Yeah, I got one kind of comment or whatever on just body fat in general, because I used to be totally obsessed with it, like really bad. Like I used to keep the calipers on my desk and like after every workout. Is it any lower? I'm not joking, by the way. Anyway, so knowing your body fat is fine. You want to know where you're starting, and that's fine. But obsessing over it is not beneficial. It's doing more harm than it is anything else, because you're totally focused on a number. And what I've started to do over the last year or two is really just focus on how I look in the mirror. And so if I'm happy with the way that I look in the mirror, I don't really care what that number is on the caliper or whatever that body fat number is. So yes, it's a very good indicator of how you're progressing. However, once you start to get to, I mean, for women, 20% is still pretty dang lean. I don't know if it was on the upper end of 20% or the lower end, but that's pretty lean for women. But once you get to those lower body fat numbers, it takes a lot to even move 1 or 2%, and so you're going to get discouraged really, really easily when you're starting to get for guys below 10%, for women below that 20% number. So again, really just focused on how you look in the mirror, how you feel about that image that you're portraying of yourself, because that number really doesn't mean anything other than that's a number. So
yeah, and I guess the only other part I would say on top of that is that's great if you're going for a specific result, or say you want to go for a show or a competition. I mean, for that insanity round that we just did, I didn't take my body fat, but I probably got to 7%. You got to remember what's sustainable and what's not. So, if Chris was really trying to get down to you probably look like you're 6% body fat right now, but if he wanted to get down to 4 or 3, that's great. He could probably hit it. He could obsess over it, but, don't make that your sole purpose. And I think he nailed it right on the head. Is if you feel comfortable when you look in the mirror, stick with that. That's the main goal. Now, use the numbers if you're really just starting out, especially if you're on the scale and you need to drop 50 pounds. Every pound that you drop is a huge success, and that's great, and go for that. But like you said, when you really start getting to those low numbers, just be careful and double check yourself how much you stress over it, because you can really start getting to a point where you just get so mentally into it that it's not sustainable. And if it's not sustainable, then you're doing yourself more injustice than you are good.
I like that a lot. I like that direction of that conversation a lot. I think a lot of people going going back to the cortisol thing, if your cortisol levels, if they're running too high, then all of a sudden they're gonna burn out, and then what's gonna be next is you're gonna grab that from your adrenal glands, and then you're gonna get adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue, it takes so long to fill up the tank once that gets drained out. So I think just not a point in general, just to say like overall healthiness, not obsessing over a number, not going too hard, realizing that it is a journey is so important for everybody. And as you can hear from everybody, has had their own journey and had their own experiences.
Hey, Chris, I know we got about 8 minutes left. Do you want to ask some of those other questions that you started with?
I think we've covered them all for the most part. One in particular that kind of wraps everything up into what we've been doing is, staying motivated long enough and just trying to get rid of love handles. So I'll take this in two parts. So the love handles thing, there's no one exercise, right? So that's just your body fat. You remove body fat in layers, and so if that's a problem area for you. Guys tend to carry weight around their midsection more so than women. They carry it generally in their thighs and their hips, that sort of thing. And so regardless of what exercise you think is going to remove body fat in a particular area, it does not work that way. It comes off in layers, and so you just really have to be consistent because guys again have problem areas where they gain fat really easily in the midsection, but they also lose fat very easily in that same area. So you just have to be consistent, and consistency over time is the biggest thing with any kind of problem area that you have.
And that applies broadly to life in general, finances, relationships,
yeah,
anything. Consistency over time, educating yourself. I mean, man, if there's one thing that I've taken away from this whole journey over the past 3+ years with Beachbody, it is consistent effort over time, focused intensity over time wins. There's no quick fix, there's no quick pill. You won't work out once, and this is another interesting thing. There's a motivational speaker named Andy Stanley and a pastor, and one of the things that he says is there are some things in life, some kinds of effort that are cumulative in that, let's say if you work out once, nobody's going to walk up to you and be like, oh my gosh, you look great, what's happening, what's changed? And if you miss your workout once, you won't see the negative side effects of that as well. But if you do it consistently over 2 months, then you'll see a marked improvement. If you miss it for 2 months, you'll see a marked detriment to your health, and so on and so forth. So it's cumulative. And I mean, the same is true, like I just said, with finances and relationships and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I like to normally ask the people that are starting into something, because I sort of have the same thing, and I'm really, until you start getting on that ball that just starts moving, and then all of a sudden it's like it starts off really slow, and then gradually something happens, and then you notice, oh, well, I noticed I started, my pants fit a little bit better, and that's just the first piece. And then, oh, man, the shirt's getting loose on me, and then, okay, now, whatever, just nothing's fitting anymore. And all of a sudden you start to see definition in your stomach, and you see your arms are getting a little bit bigger, a little more toner, maybe your pants are fitting better that didn't fit so well before. Something to kind of just put yourself in check. So if there's all these Beachbody programs, it doesn't matter which one, P90X, Insanity, Body Beast, 21-Day Fix, all that. So they all are basically just a blueprint. And the blueprint says that on months 1, 2, and 3, here's what we say you should do. And most people see the infomercial, which is where I started, because I was on the couch at 2:30 in the morning eating chocolate chip cookies and milk. And I'm like, oh, these guys are ripped. I can so do that. I'm tired of these love handles. It just drives me nuts. I don't want to be the fat kid anymore. I want to do that. So you get, you buy into the program, and you get it, and 98% of people say, well, that's great. They try, the first 2 days. It hurts. They put it on the shelf. So if this is you, which you may have done, or you probably know someone who has done it, ask yourself, what would happen if you did exactly what they said over the time period that they said to do it? What if you did it? Just think in your head. I'm not saying actually do it, but what would happen if you did it? And imagine if you went for 90 days and you didn't lose sight or track of whatever they told you to do. So if they said wake up and eat 2,300 calories and work out this way and drink 8 glasses of water, and you said, okay, and you did that for 90 days, what would happen? And it's probably a scary thought because you might actually get where you want to go. Now imagine if you did that one time and you did it again for another 3 months and you followed that up. What would that look like? And if you can't answer that because you haven't done it, because you keep saying what if, but you never actually took the first step to do it, then that right there is the biggest thing that you're going to fight with. So you can listen to us talk about all this all day long. But if you're not willing to take that first step to actually say, okay, I'm going to actually dedicate myself to do it, and that's what I did in this past 3 months, and that's why I got to the results where I wanted to be. I'm like, holy crap, I actually can really lose my love handles, but I need to eat X number of calories a day. I need to work out X number of days, over these 3 months, and all of a sudden it happens. But until you're willing to take the time to put that in and do it, you're not going to see the results. So, and you need to take it at steps that are reasonable. So start with a smaller program, like how we have this Beachbody On Demand program. Start with that. Do it for 21 days, and then make your goal a little bit bigger. Just don't quit. And that's the issue where I think most of you guys will run into is you don't see that motivation in the first place because you start going a couple days and you realize it's hard, then you just kind of give up. So the fact that you're even watching this video right now, that you want to learn more about it, that you're taking the steps, that you're working with Jonathan, that you're working with Jared, that you're working with Chris, that you're working with Jess and I, is exactly what you need to be doing. Just keep your mind in the game and just don't give up. That's probably the biggest thing that, at least I know that we would tell you, and that, the other guys would tell you as well. We do this because we want to see you guys do well, and then eventually to watch you guys turn around once you get to where you want to be and help change other people's lives. And that's one of the reasons that we got into coaching. And I'm pretty sure that Chris, Jared, and Jonathan will all tell you exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and I'll just add one closing statement to that. So I'm a member of Rotary. It's a service organization. One of the things that our members, like a bragging right, is perfect attendance. So we have some guys that are like, man, I have 30 years perfect attendance. And I heard somebody that's a great Rotarian say in response to him the other day, get a life, man. 30 years perfect attendance, man. Come on, go out and have some fun from time to time. So being consistent with your nutrition and your workouts, all of that stuff is awesome. But I will just add, it's okay every now and again to go out and just have fun with your friends, have fun with your family. Don't pursue this to the detriment of those relationships, but just make it a treat, make it the exception and not the rule, so that you get the the energy that you want, you get in the shape that you want, but you also have the memories and the life experiences that you can take with you, throughout the rest of your life. So anyway.
Yeah, awesome, Jonathan.
Well said, man. Well said.
So it's basically 9 o'clock. Melinda, are you still with us?
It's 9 o'clock.
Do you know where your children are?
Yeah. I thought she was on, but maybe she's, I don't know.
I think the parent might have got a hold of her phone.
That's okay. All right, so I think we just wanted to wrap things up here. We will make sure that this is available to everyone who didn't have a chance to watch it live. If you do have other questions that you want us to answer, we can either, if they're simple or straightforward answers, we can just answer them directly, or we might do this again. I mean, this was fun. I don't know if you guys enjoyed this as much as I did, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I learned a lot, and I've been doing this for a while. So thank you guys.
Yeah, so
maybe
we'll do this going forward, maybe once a month or something like that, to keep everybody that's in our groups here, involved and asking questions and that sort of thing. But thank everybody for joining us tonight, and we'll see everybody in our respective Facebook groups.
Thanks for hosting, Chris. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will make sure I send the link to everybody so that you can share that with your groups.
Sounds good.
All right.
Right on. Have a
All right.
good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Yep.